Good morning to everyone. We are the IntelliRisk, and today we're going to present about corporate risk management about Nestle Malaysia Berhad. And this is our group member, Nur Kamisha, Winning Umailin, Nur Fazana Hazika, Rachel Hopinli, and me myself, Natalie Misha. So, let's know about Nestle Malaysia. Nestle Malaysia already established in Malaysia over 113 years since 1912. And Nestle Malaysia, known as a subsidiary company from Nestle Group, will already operate over 190 plus countries. Their main focus is on food and beverages with their tagline Good Food, Good Life. Their core focus is on nutrition, healthy and wellness. Nestle Malaysia already gained the trust of named household in Malaysia, where they have the strong reputation for quality, innovation and nutrition. This is because their products are accessible, nutritious and delicious. And lately, Nestle Malaysia not just focus on food and beverages, they also have a project where the project named Project Relief, where they already planted 1.8 million trees to reduce virgin plastic uses by the third since 2018. The reason why they do this project is because they want to focus on environment protection and community well-being. This is because they need to have a commitment to creating shared value.
Hi, my name is Rachel, and I'll be presenting 2.1, Analyzing the Corporate Governance Failures of Nestle. The main case study that we analyzed for Nestle is a 2024 investigation done by Public Eye, how Nestle gets sugar and hooked on sugar in lower income countries. However, for an analysis to remain objective and avoid bias, we also took a look at other news articles which presented more of Nestle's arguments and point of view. Next, so from this case study, we found a main issue, the double standard. So as you can see here, this is Nestle's Cerelac sugar levels in different countries. So as you can see, in UK and Germany, high income countries, there is zero sugar present. However, in other low and middle income countries, there is high sugar level present in the same product, which presents a double standard. There are three main areas of corporate governance failure identified. First would be failure and accountability. So in response to the issue, Nestle has stated that all of their baby food products comply with Codex Alimentarius. However, criticism to their response would be that the guidelines of the Codex is outdated and has been criticized by World Health Organization for not being following current world standards. Second would be Nestle claiming that this added sugar helps babies to transition to solid foods better. However, criticism would be that babies in some of the countries that they distribute to consume unsweetened products without issue. So they would give a flawed argument that added sugar is needed. Next would be failure in transparency. So the specific sugar content remains unclear in some of the products, as the natural occurring and unhealthy added sugars are all grouped together in the total sugar content. Besides that, they also decide to selectively highlight and disclose information that they want to disclose. For example, in their packaging, specifically highlighting the vitamins and minerals, the good part of the product. Last but not least would be the failure in ethics and culture. So the products is marketed as without added sucrose, even though it still contains added sugar, just in the form of honey. So this presents an ethical issue because it would mislead parents and caregivers into thinking that no sugar is added, and the cultural issue that Nestle only prioritizes profit and marketability over the child's actual health. That is all for me. Thank you.
Greetings, I'm Wendy, and I will be presenting the Nestle post-crisis response to the issue, and we will look at the strategy where the Nestle had used and their impact on the company's financial standing, legal liabilities, and reputation. First, regulatory and reputational risk. Nestle combine the risk reduction and acceptance. They does not fully meet the World Health Organization guidelines. They remove the sugar in Europe but keep in low middle income countries to avoid the high reformulation costs, and this protect their revenue but expose them to reputational pressure, especially in Africa. Second, the ethics and compliance risk. The Nestle focus on the risk reduction by strengthening the internal governance, while this reduce the legal fine and show the ethical commitment, but the gaps remain in the transparency, and the companies fail to fully regain the trust from the health conscious consumer. And third, the Nestle treat the sugar concern mainly as a food safety issue rather than the nutrition issue. They use the risk reduction response for product quality and safety risk. They focus on the food safety and quality policy to prevent the recalls. They minimize the financial and legal risk, but they ignore the long-term health implication of high sugar diet, which may affect the reputation in their market. For the non-financial governance risk, they apply the risk reduction but improve the ESG reporting and board oversight to satisfy their investor. However, the NGO question them because selling the sugary baby food conflict with ESG claim. Uh, Lastly, Nestle accept the risk of the consumer behavior. In 2024, they launched a limited sugar-free product in their market like India instead of the global reformulation. This keeps the short-term sales stable but creates a long-term risk of declining brand trust in emerging markets. So in short, the Nestle used the risk reduction and acceptance. Their strategy protects the financial and legal standing, but reputational risk and long-term consumer trust remain challenges. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Next, we continue with the Nestle proactive risk response. But before outlining this section, it is important to first understand Nestle Berhad current strategic positioning. Nestle holds a strong competitive position in the mature infant nutrition market, supported by its scale, brand trust, global reach, and ongoing investment in R&D. However, its governance maturity is not fully aligned with its market power, which exposes the company to reputational and ethical risks in the sensitive category. Based on the ADL metrics, Nestle fits a build or selective strengthening strategy, meaning it should shift focus from pure market growth to enhancing governance, ethical leadership, and innovation capabilities to sustain long-term value. Building on this diagnosis, 8 proactive risks were identified. These risks are derived directly from the governance failures identified earlier at Section 2.1 as well as the limitation observed in Nestle post-crisis responses in Section 2.2. At the corporate level, the focus is on structural risk mitigation. First, ethical and governance risk is addressed through the enforcement of a globally standardized zero added sugar policy overseen by the head of compliance. This removes regional discretion and eliminates ethical inconsistency across markets. Second, board oversight is strengthened through the establishment of a board-level ethics committee for infant nutrition, ensuring ethical considerations are embedded at the highest level of decision-making. Third, leadership misalignment risk is mitigated by linking executive remuneration to nutrition ethic performance indicator, aligning incentive with long-term trust and sustainability. And finally, reputational and legitimacy risk is addressed through a formal and binding commitment to WHO infant nutrition guideline, reinforcing Nestle's role as a responsible public health leader. At the SBU level, the emphasis shifts to operational resilience and ethical execution. Nutritional health risk is addressed through complete elimination of all added sugar and honey across infant nutrition products globally. Transparency risk is mitigated through mandatory front-of-pack disclosure regardless of local regulatory requirements. Innovation risk is addressed by refocusing R&D towards sugar-free taste adaptation, positioning Nestle as an ethical innovator rather than a follower of consumer taste dependency. Finally, consumer trust risk is mitigated by shifting marketing away from health claim towards science-based caregiver education, strengthening long-term credibility. Collectively, this proactive measure reposition Nestle from a defensive, compliance-driven posture toward sustainable competitive advantage.
Good morning. So today I'll be presenting a recommendation for Nestle risk management framework. For review and reporting hierarchy, so this structure is what makes this framework sustainable. So we have designed a 3-tier review process, which is monthly at the SBU level to track trends. Second, quarterly at the corporate level to look at the consolidated risk dashboard. And third, semi-annually. We semi-annually check at the board level. So why we did this? Because we want to ensure that the leadership is focusing on high impact risk and long-term alignment with, of course, WHO guidelines and reach their standards. And rather than getting bogged down in daily micro tasks. As for external reporting and stakeholder trust, For this part, we must rebuild trust through external transparency. So we recommend aligning all sustainability reporting with the WHO nutrition benchmark. Okay, and most importantly, uh, we believe that Nestle should host annual stakeholder engagement sessions with public health organizations and also the civil society, because being open about our risks and how we mitigate them, we move Nestle from a position of reactive damage control to one of the proactive industry leadership. Okay, so to conclude everything, sustainable value creation for Nestle depends on not only on compliance, but on credible ethical leadership in infant nutrition. Thank you.